Hello student, let us start the next chapter from the Principle and Art of Cure by Homeopathy, written by Dr. H. A. Robert, in which he gives a various philosophical perspective behind the homeopathic principle. Let us learn the 7th lecture from his philosophy, that is our remedies, why they act. Our remedies, why they act. Yes, why our remedies that which potentize this, and this dynamic action of the remedies goes on increasing as the quality as the quantity of remedy or medicine or drug substance goes on decreasing, while the quality of medicine goes on increasing, and why there is a tendency to react these drug substance or remedies with human being, and what is the affinity of this constituent of these remedies or the remedial action with the human body. That means why our remedies act. In our thesis that homeopathy is fundamental, that it is scientific, and that it is based on natural law, we have quoted finding from other branches of pure science that have been so uniform and constant as to definitely point the way towards underlying laws. Yes, we compare, or whatever is the principle existed in homeopathy or on which fundamental principle homeopathy is based on, these are the nature's law, and these are the natural law, and these are all applicable in other branches, so called the pure science. The other branches of science, that is physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics, astronomy, etc. And as these are the natural law, these are all applicable in other branches of the science, isn't it? And as these principles are not purely of the physics, chemistry or biology, but these are applicable anywhere, and therefore these are also applicable to homeopathy, and therefore it is corresponding with the nature's law, and the other branches of science also, these are also corresponding with the nature's law. And therefore we compare, in last lecture we compare the homeopathy, the natural laws which are existed in mathematics, in physics, in chemistry, these are all applicable in homeopathy. These to recapitulate briefly were from astronomy, mathematics and biology, and have been compared with the closely similar finding of the action of drug and their application. Yes, according to the law of astronomy, that is the law of energy, conservation of energy, then mathematics, the law of least action, then the function creates a structure. All these law from biology, all these law very closely corresponding with the homeopathy, and these are regarding the action of remedy. First, in state of health to produce artificially condition stimulating disease. That means whenever we apply this drug energy or drug, the action of drug produce some symptom whenever the person is total in a healthy state, and it is artificial condition stimulating disease. That means it is a drug proving. And second, this tendency of the drug substance to produce to produce the symptom or disease condition in healthy human being, we apply this pathogenetic action of the drug for the curative purpose and administer remedy according to the law of similia, and in order to restore the sick to health. Therefore, this action of drug we use in drug proving as well as for the therapeutic purpose, and therefore this drug energy in a state of health to produce artificially conditioned stimulating disease or to restore disease state to the normal balance of the health. Yes, whenever we act this drug, and you must have a knowledge why this remedy act, isn't it? And therefore he gives the explanation regarding the remedy. Let us take the next paragraph. Let us consider once more some of our deductions set forth in former chapters on vital energy in its universal application. Yes, in vital energy in its universal application means the whole universe is endowed with this universal cosmic energy, and as we are a part of this solar system, as we are a part of the planet Earth, we are also influenced by this universal cosmic energy, and our whole bodily functions, our whole mind, body and our vital energy is the part of this cosmic vital energy which is applicable for the universal. That we may have it before us for examination in comparing our deductions from other branches of scientific investigations with our study of the natural laws underlying the principles adapting for use in the science of healing known as homeopathy. We shall quote from these chapters. Yes, in this chapter we also studied the various other branches of the science and the branches of scientific investigation, that is mathematics, physics and chemistry. Whenever we study the various principles from this mathematics, physics and chemistry, which are all applicable for the principle which we adapting for the use of homeopathy as a science of healing, isn't it? And how these are applicable, every one of you know, which we discussed in last lecture, that is the action and reaction is equal and opposite. For the action there is the least amount is or least quantity of the medicine is required, least force is required, and then the potentiation of the energy, that is the higher the whenever greater is the similarity, higher the potency, then the functions create structure. All these laws which we learned in previous lecture, these are all used from the other sciences which are we use in science of healing, that is in homeopathy. Therefore homeopathy is a scientific, homeopathy is a science. Yes, it is not a guesswork, it is not a fiction, while it is a pure science which very closely derived from natural law. We shall quote from this chapter. These substances capable of being raised by potentization are derived from three kingdoms: mineral, vegetable and animal. As these plants, animals and elements, minerals, these are all the part of this earth planet, you can say, and we are also the part of this earth. We use this tendency of this various other vegetable kingdom, animal kingdom and mineral kingdom which act on human body. We apply this quality for the therapeutic purpose, and therefore various other sources we take from the very closest source of the nothing but the vegetable kingdom, and we prepare the medicine from vegetable kingdom. Not only the vegetable kingdom but animal kingdom also, you know the example, this Spanish fly, this reptile family, and the minerals also. There is sulfur, silver, copper metallicum, cuprum metallicum. These are all we use for the preparation of the drug, and not in a crude form but in homeopathy we potentiate this drug, increase the energy of these drug substances, and we use for the therapeutic purpose. Let us take the next paragraph. We cannot definitely say that the mineral substances in themselves possess vital energy, but they are fragments of that which composes the planet Earth. Yes, we call, or whenever there is a question of mineral substance, we consider these are the non-living thing, and therefore we can't say it possesses vital energy, isn't it? But they are fragments of that which composes the planet Earth. Yes, while the earth crust created with all these minerals, you can find all these minerals in this earth crust, and therefore which composes the planet Earth, and that planet either possesses some form of vital energy in itself. Yes, you know, Earth is moving, and therefore it has a vital energy, isn't it? And therefore whatever is the minerals obtained on the earth crust, these are also have this vital energy, and therefore that planet either possesses some form of vital energy in itself, or is susceptible of being activated by vital energy to such an extent that it performs its appointed movement according to the law. Yes, all these planets revolving around the sun in a predetermined orbit and predetermined manner and the speed. As the earth is also the part of this solar system, it is also endowed with this universal energy, and as the energy is applicable, and therefore these are moving, all planets are moving in very definite rule according to the natural law. As the planet Earth is also the part of this universal energy, or influenced by the universal energy, each and every particle on the earth, whether it is living or non-living, these are also influenced by this universal cosmic energy according to the natural law. And therefore he further told you that we can use these minerals by proper preparation in the form of vital energy. Yes, we can, as these minerals which are obtained on the planet Earth, we can use the energy of this mineral from the proper preparation by the very way, that is not in a crude state, because in a crude state there is a pathophysiological action on the human being and maybe a very threatened to the life, and therefore whatever is a substance which we call as a toxins, or which hampered the health or the normal physiological function, we used with the least quantity, and the least quantity only obtained by the method of potentization, and therefore by the proper preparation in the form of vital energy, not to perpetuate life but to influence it on all three planes of body. Yes, by the dynamization of this medicine, it is not only perpetuate, it is not only preserve the life, but to influence in all three planes of body, mind and spirit, that the vital energy of the individual may be thereby guarded against decay and death. Yes, you can prevent the human being by supplying the vital energy which he required. Therefore, according to the law of similia, we select those remedies which the individual required, isn't it? And the remedies which are prepared from the minerals which obtained on the earth crust, because human being is also the prepared from this mineral which are obtained on the earth crust. Whatever you understand the relation of this element with or with the construction of our body. Let us take the next paragraph. We recognize the presence of vital energy in vegetable growth. Yes, we take the example, you know, from the seed there is a development, and there is a full developed mature tree, and it is this full developed mature tree, and the origin from the seed. Small seed develop into a full mature tree, and this then this tree is able, or any plant is able to reproduce the same species or the plant of the same species. There it is a growth, and for this growth, if there is growth, there is energy. You know, automatic and autocratic, this energy, the function of the energy we observe in vegetable kingdom, vegetable growth. For it is evidence in growth and development on the plant according to the natural law of development. Yes, according to the natural law of development, in living being there is a growth, there is requirement of food, oxygen, and there is also the function of a very important function in order to keep the existence of species, existence of life, that is a reproduction, and therefore this growth is the inevitable part of the natural law and natural law of development. We comprehend most easily the animation. Animation means the motion, the presence of vital energy, and in the animal kingdom. Yes, you know, this animal kingdom is automatic, autocratic, and there is also motion. Yes, the plant cannot move from one place to another. Still, in the process of development, we observe the movement, isn't it? While animal can move by their accord, and therefore this movement, this animation we can observe in the animal kingdom. And whatever is the medicine which we prepared from this animal kingdom, by these animal kingdom, these are also energetic, or you can say these also possesses the vital energy. Let us take the next paragraph. It is quite within the province of the homeopathic physician, especially if he believes that homeopathy is based on fundamental principles underlying all elemental constructions and development, to attempt to understand something of the basis of the elements with which he has to deal, both in state of sickness and in health. Yes, then if you have adequate knowledge of the homeopathic principle, every homeopathic physician must know the role of this elemental construction and development, the requirement of these elements or the minerals for the development of and the construction of body and mind, isn't it? And then he can very well prescribe the medicine according to the law of similia. And therefore you must have a knowledge how this drug which we prepare from the plant kingdom, animal kingdom, or the mineral kingdom, how these are act both in state of sickness and in health. Yes, we have a knowledge the pathogenicity of this particular medicine from drug proving, and then how to deal with this, or how the application of this knowledge of materia medica in state of sickness. The homeopathic physician must have a knowledge, and because it is a prerequisite and very important quality of the homeopathic physician. This implies a knowledge of drugs, not only their action but their derivation. Yes, you know the knowledge of drug through the drug proving, that is the knowledge of materia medica. While you don't have a knowledge of the pathogenetic action but their derivations, yes, by how they derived, or various combinations, how they act, what is the differentiation between the different constituent like natrum mur, natrum car, natrum sul, whatever the differentiating point, whenever the chief mineral combined with another element. And that not is a superficial term, but in terms of basis of derivations and interrelation with universal construction. Yes, whatever is a remedy which we are going to use for the purpose of treatment, yes, definitely we know the pathogenicity of the drug by drug proving, but you must have a knowledge how there is a derivation And what is the relation of this element to the universal construction? This, what is the role of this element or mineral in the universal construction? This deals with physics in very definite way and in a much deeper, more constructive and significant way than we usually consider. Yes, this knowledge of the role of this mineral and element in the construction of this universe, this deals with the chemistry and physics. Yeah? And you know, physics is closely related with the mathematics, and mathematics is a perfect science. As whatever is a perfect science we call it, yes, it is a plus b, a is equal to b or b is equal to c, that is a is equal to c. Yes, this physics and chemistry, these are all the science which closely related with the mathematics, and mathematics is a science, and therefore homeopathy is also the fundamental science. The study of these elements with this universal construction, this deal with the physics is a very definite way and much deeper, more constructive and significant way than we usually consider. If you take the help of the other sciences in order to prove the homeopathic principle, then it will be more easy to understand. Let us take the next paragraph. In his little book, Science and New Civilization, Millikan gives us some valuable hints in his chapter on available energy. His statement in this chapter is that, yes, here Dr. H. Robert tried to prove how homeopathy is based on natural law, how homeopathy is scientific in nature, and therefore he compared the homeopathic principle and law with other branches like physics and chemistry and biology and also mathematics. For that he gives the example of the Millikan. Millikan was an American scientist. He was an American experimental physicist honored with Nobel Prize for Physics, and for his work on photoelectric effect. This here he gives the example of Millikan, who was well-known physicist from America, and his work on the photoelectric effect, and how these Millikan's views are closely related with the principle of homeopathy. Dr. H. Robert quoted some quotation from his book entitled as a Science and the New Civilization. And Science and the New Civilization, he correlate the universal energy with human being, and he gives some important hints. Let us learn this, whatever is view given by Millikan. All knowledge that helps towards an understanding of the nature of the universe of which we are a part is useful, for we need very much more of it than we have and or shall have for centuries to come, to enable us to direct our energies towards wise, effective living instead of wasting them on beating tom-toms, inventing perpetual motion machines and chasing other physical and social rainbows. Yes, in this paragraph, Millikan explain you that all knowledge that helps towards an understanding of the nature of the universe. Yes, as human being, we are more curious what is the origin or how we are derived, what is the origin of this solar system, what is the origin of this planet, how these planets are formed, how the life is originated, what is the ancient or what is the which are our ancestors. We are totally curious regarding this development of the life on the earth, and for that we studied from many ways, and all this study definitely based on nature's law, and by chasing this nature's law we try to explain the existence or how the existence of life on the or how the life developed or existed on the earth. Therefore he called all knowledge that helps toward an understanding of the nature of the universe of which we are a part is useful, for we need very much more of it than we now have. Yes, we need to know very much, because it is beyond our capacity to know how this universe is developed or originated. Shall have for centuries to come. Yes, जे आपल्याला माहित पण नाहीये आणि कदाचित आपल्याला हे माहिती होण्यासाठी खूप अजून ह्या निसर्गाचं ह्या जीवनाचं गूढ उकळण्यासाठी आपल्याला खूप वर्ष जाऊ द्यावे लागते. टू एनेबल अस टू डायरेक्ट आवर एनर्जीज टू ॲडवाइज. पण जिथपर्यंत आपल्याला माहिती आहे तोपर्यंत ह्या युनिव्हर्सल एनर्जीचा ह्या व्हायटल एनर्जीचा उपयोग आपण करून घेतला पाहिजे. टू एनेबल अस टू डायरेक्ट आवर एनर्जीज टू ॲडवाइज इफेक्टिव्ह लिव्हिंग इन्स्टेड ऑफ वेस्टिंग देम. येस, आपल्या जीवनामध्ये ती एनर्जी वाया चाललेली आहे, तिचा आपण आपल्या चांगल्या जीवनासाठी कसा वापर करून घेतला पाहिजे. ऑन बीटिंग टॉमटॉम्स. इन बीटिंग टॉमटॉम मीन्स इट इज नॉट ओनली द इट इज बीटिंग म्हणजे टॉमटॉम मीन्स इट इज अ ड्रम. नुसता ढोल ताशा वाजवून त्याचा काही उपयोग होणार नाही, तर ती शहाणपणाने आपल्या जीवनात त्याचा चांगल्या प्रकारे कसा उपयोग करून घेता येईल याचा आपण विचार केला पाहिजे. इन्व्हेंटिंग परपेच्युअल मोशन मशीन्स अँड चेसिंग either physical and social rainbow. Yes, you should know the eternal part which are help for the life, and what is the energy which is chasing either physical or social rainbows. That means it is a wide views, physical and social level. You have to correlate all these different, or you can use this vital energy for the betterment of our physical and social life. If it be wise for the average person to direct their energies towards an understanding of things about them, how much more is it the province of him who is entrusted with the care of others through the use of drugs, build up and potentize out of the elements. Let us consider further some of Dr. Millikan's statements in this chapter and their bearing on our speciality. Yes, let us learn the other chapter from Millikan, who was the physicist, who was not a homeopath, while he is a physicist. His whole study is related with the physics, and he work on the photoelectric effect. Then whatever is his views regarding this vital energy or this you can say universal energy. It is interesting and very important fact from the practical viewpoint too that more than 95% of this universe, so far as we can now see, is made up of a very few elements. Yes, he says that की जोपर्यंत आपण बघतो आहे की हे जे युनिवर्स आहे हे फक्त फार लिमिटेड थोड्या काही एलिमेंट्सनी बनलेला आहे. बेसिक एलिमेंट्स हे फार थोडे आहेत. पूर्ण युनिवर्स मध्ये तेच एलिमेंट आहेत, काही खूप वेगळं नाही आहे. फर्स्ट, द स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी ऑफ द हेवन शोज द enormous prevalence everywhere of hydrogen. Yes, spectroscopy, it is the it is the study of light as a function of length of wave. The spectroscopy measure the wavelength of light and the speed of light that has emitted, reflected through a solid, liquid and gas. Yes, the energy or the waves which are reflected from each and every particle, that is a solid, liquid and gases, and the spectroscopy is used for the measurement of this wave which are emerged from the these solid, liquid and gaseous elements. Then this whenever we measure or we study the heaven with help of the spectroscopy, when we measure the light emitted or the light waves which are emitted from the heavens, shows that the enormous prevalence everywhere of hydrogen. Yes, the whatever is the major part of this universe is made up of the hydrogen, but hydrogen is merely the primordial positive and negative electron tied together. And hydrogen you know, in periodic table it is there is a place second row, that is which is primordial. It is the basic, or the you can say it is a fundamental or the fundamentals of the hydrogen. It is two atoms are there, merely the primordial positive and negative electrons tied together. The positive and negative electrons tied together are in the process of being so tied, and during the whole process of universe the hydrogen remain in this together state, in this process being so tied. Second, the spectroscopy of the heaven also shows that helium is an exceptionally abundant and widely distributed element, even though because of its lightness and inability to combine with anything, even with itself, the earth has not retained much of it. Yes, the second study of the spectroscopy by the is that the heaven also shows that helium is an exceptionally abundant. Yes, in spite of hydrogen, there is helium also. You get the in an abundant form, widely distributed element, even though because of its lightness and inability to combine with anything. Yes, the helium is not combined with anything. It is some type of a stable element, and it is found in abundant form. Even with itself, the earth has not retained much of it, while as it is not have a tendency to combine with any other element, then earth has not retained much of it. Significant is it, however, that the alpha particle given off by all the heavy radioactive elements is nothing but helium. Yes, all the whatever is the emission of these waves or this light from the radioactive element is nothing but the helium, so that it must have a certain prevalence even on earth in the structure of heavier elements. Yes, this helium is not a which is not found in the abundant. It is not at retained so much on the earth, while the radioactive element which emitted some radioactive waves from it, emission of this waves, light from it, you can say it is whatever is light emitted from the radioactive element, in which helium is the major, it is nothing but the helium. So that we must a certain prevalence even on earth is a structure of the heavier element. Then in heavier element we have an abundant amount of helium. The third principle is that Dr. I.S. Bowen at the California Institute solved with consummative skill the half-century of old riddle of nebullium, and has shown that the substance abundant throughout the heavens giving rise to these mysterious spectral lines is mainly oxygen and nitrogen. Yes, the third postulation is that Dr. I.S. Bowen at California Institute solved this consummate skill the half-century old riddle of nebullium. Nebullium, you know what do you mean by nebullium? This means the strong green emission of light or emission of lines from nebula. And you know nebula is a cloud of gas and dust in outer space thrown out by the explosion of a dying star such as supernova, or a new star are beginning to form. This nebula, whenever there is a process of dying the star, there is a disintegration of this solid element which are observed in space. You can say whenever there is a dying star or the birth of the new star, some lights eliminated or some waves eliminated from this nebula. It is called the nebullium. Then nebullium, it is a strong green emission of lights or lines from the nebula. This I.S. Bowen studied on this nebullium and has shown that the substance abundant throughout the heaven. Therefore, because of this dying star and the formation of the new star, these lines are, or this light is emitted throughout the heaven, given rise this mysterious spectrum lights, and which is measured by the spectroscopy, and we found that the which gas is abundant in heaven, that it is oxygen and nitrogen. That means there are hydrogen as well as oxygen and nitrogen. These three lights are the three gases are abundant in this cosmos or universe. But oxygen alone constitute 55% of the earth crust and about the same proportion of meteoroids. Meteoroids means you know उल्का ज्याला आपण म्हणतो, तर ज्याप्रमाणे अर्थ क्रस्ट बनलेली आहे त्याचप्रमाणे त्या अर्थ क्रस्ट वर 55% ऑक्सिजन अवेलेबल आहे, तसाच हा मेटेरिओराइट्स मध्ये देखील त्या तितक्याच प्रमाणामध्ये ऑक्सिजन अवेलेबल असतो. Oxygen and nitrogen then, which for our present purpose will be treated as one element, since they have nearly the same atomic weight and will be henceforth listed under the name of the stronger brother, constitute the third extraordinary abundant element. And it is to be noted that there are no abundant element at all between helium and oxygen. Yes, it is oxygen and nitrogen also observed in a huge quantity on the earth crust. Carbon has a certain minor nitrogen and oxygen. It may here be treated as merely a feeble satellite of oxygen. The fourth postulate is that 95% of the weight of all meteorites consist of oxygen 54%, magnesium 13%, silicon 15% and iron 13%, while 75% of the earth crust is composed of these three elements. Yes, like meteorites, there is a same percentage we observe on the earth crust, while The 70% of the earth crust is composed of 3 elements: oxygen, silicon and aluminium 5%. No other element rising over 2%. Iron constitute 1.5% of the crust, but it is supposed to be very largely presented in the interior. Yes, while on the earth crust in abundant form we observe only 3 elements, that is a 55% of oxygen, silicon 16% and aluminium 5%, isn't it? And then no other element observed more than 2%. Whatever is observed, that is the iron, which is observed 1.5% on the crust, while it is in large amount it present in the interior. Because of the closeness of their atomic weight, magnesium, aluminium and silicon, that is a magnesium 24, aluminium 27 and silicon 28% atomic weight, may for our present purpose be regarded as a single element and given the name of the strongest brother, silicon. Yes, this in silicon the magnesium and aluminium also present and the name the strongest brother, silicon. There are then no abundant element whatever between oxygen and silicon, nor between silicon and iron, and from an engineering standpoint the universe may be said to be made up of the primordial positive and negative electron and of 4 elements built out of them, namely helium, oxygen, silicon and iron. Yes, this for the if you engineering point, if you study the construction of this universe or all this planet, you observe all these elements in the universe or on the planet, and here he gives the percentage of the element observed on earth crust, and therefore the 4 elements will out of them, which are namely helium, oxygen, silicon and iron, are these observed in abundance on earth crust. Mankind, if he is here a billion years hence, will be satisfying his main needs. Yes, yes, let us take the here we study how this earth crust is formed and which are the elements observed in abundantly on earth crust. Definitely these elements only used for the construction of each and every living organism observed on the earth, isn't it? In the whatever is a description about this, or how H. Robert correlate the principle given by a physicist Millikan's and how it is applicable in homeopathy and how it is related to the human being specifically, we will study in next lecture. Okay, thank you.